This will sound better after editing.
I always sound better after editing.
Yep.
All right, input sound. Let's turn that up a bit. Hello. Okay, that was a bit much. All right. If I laugh that loud, I am not peaking.
Mm-hmm. Good. 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 Yeah, I'm not peaking.
That's basically my test is, at what point does my laugh make my mic peak?
Yeah.
Other than that, I can pretty much fiddle with sound, but... all right. Now that we've gotten through 20 minutes of fiddling... Welcome to My Hill to Die On, episode 77.
Everyone has things they are passionate about.
Things we want our friends to try and experience.
So we've convinced each other to try different things.
And we talk about these experiences to see if we can get just one more person
to join us on our hill to die on. Nothing happened this summer, right, Ryan?
Oy vey. Everything happened this summer.
It was a good summer.
It was a good summer. For me, most of what I did was I spent time with my family. I went back to the States, I visited my parents, and I just hung out with them, which was really relaxing.
My family, we took it easy this summer too. Well, we didn't do too much. We did do a few trips. We did one high ropes course adventure thing, which was quite fun. We went to Okinawa because we want to fly somewhere, but I didn't want to spend an arm and a leg, so I looked off and on, and finally I found some real cheap plane tickets to Okinawa, and I was like, oh, this is great. We'll do that. And it's the same airline that you and I took when we went to visit the school in Okinawa in last November. We talked about that on the podcast.
So the definitely, totally not scary, cheap flights. Yes, that one.
Yeah. Yeah, that one. So I told my wife, I did this. Yes, it's cheap, but, it's a 2-hour flight. We'll be fine. And these were so cheap that there was no checked baggage, all carry-on. So I was like, yeah, that's fine. We didn't have any carry-on bags at all, actually. So we bought some new carry-on bags for ourselves. And then I saw on the website, and it said it in the ticket purchasing too, it says, there's only 7 kilograms for all of your checked baggage. Backpack, your suitcase, all together, 7 kilograms only. And I was like, oh, okay. But when we went to Okinawa for school, they didn't check. So it's going to be fine. Like, I know it says 7, but it'll be fine, right? Famous last words. We get to the airport. We got there plenty of time, very early actually. We ate lunch. You couldn't check in until 90 minutes before, so since we had arrived more than 90 minutes before, we had to wait around to check in. I checked us in, and then we start walking to the gate, and there's a lady with a scale. I'm like, uh-oh, let's see how serious they are about this. So, yep, the lady stops us. She has us weigh our bags. Of course, we're overweight. So then it's like, what are we going to do? My wife is kind of freaking out. I'm upset because it shouldn't be like this. It wasn't like this last time. And I found out why it wasn't like this last time later. We go off to the side. We start unpacking things. There's a scale that we can use for people like us. So we were able to work it out. And in the whole process, we had to check 2 bags, which is why the tickets were cheap, apparently. So we paid for 2 checked bags. And I realized as we were going through the checked baggage line, those that go through the checked baggage line skip the lady with the scale. That's why when we went for Okinawa, we skipped the lady with the scale because we all went through the checked bag line.
Oh.
So I didn't notice that until afterward. And then I was thinking, why did we check 2? We should have only checked 1. But it was too late after I had realized that. So sure enough, we went through and got on the plane. But that was a super frustrating experience. When we got to Okinawa, though, for sure, I checked, went down to the check-in area as soon as we landed, and I'm like, are there people with scales? No, I don't see anybody with scales. On the way back, we're going to be fine. Let's not panic. We'll just pack again, and if we have to, we will pay again. But you know what? We're just gonna figure it out. But I was like, no, there's nobody checking, so I think we're going to be safe. And sure enough, on the way back, we were no problems at all. But man, that was a bit frustrating. I was trying to cheat, Ryan. They wouldn't let me get away with cheating.
They wouldn't let you get away with cheating?
No.
Why not?
Well, they want to make their money. I kind of get that, too.
So you're saying that the real enemy all along was capitalism?
No, I'm pretty sure it was me still. I'm pretty sure it was still me.
Anything else you did over the summer?
Let me tell you about the most wonderful of holidays. Prime Day.
Oh.
So what do you look for at Prime Day, Ryan?
Sales.
On new Synologies, of course. What else do you look for around Prime Day? I don't think I've told you this yet.
You might have told me.
Did I tell you that I purchased a new Synology?
Oh, I knew you purchased a new Synology. I didn't know when or why or how. But I did know that you ended up with a new Synology.
Yep.
If you weren't telling me, I was definitely dropping some eaves.
Yeah, because I was talking to my coworker about it. My coworker was definitely texting me because he was like, Nate, did you see this? Nate, did you see this? This is for sale too. And I was hemming and hawing on Prime Day in the middle of one of our vacations too, right? And I was like, oh, do I buy this? I'm not there to receive it. I'll have to have it shipped, later. And actually, I did end up having to get everything shipped to arrive after we got back from Okinawa. But yeah, I was hemming and hawing. So, I have my DS1815 Plus. And I've got 2 of them, and they both have the same motherboard power issue on them, so they're really annoying. I had to put a jumper in so they stay on all the time. You can't shut them off, really. And then sometimes they're hard to get back turned on again. They're really annoying, especially as my primary and my secondary Synologies. It was really bad. And I kind of wanted to keep 8 bays. I liked having 8 bays. I had sat down with spreadsheets and figured out, could I go down to 6? Well, not really for the things I was trying to do. I wanted to have a faster yet smaller set of drives for my photos and then a very large set of drives for just my regular archive stuff. And I really couldn't do that with 6 bays. It was better with 8 because of how, RAIDs work. You need multiple drives. So I was messing with this, and during the sale, they had a DS923 Plus. A 923 Plus is a 4-bay Synology. At first, I was like, this is not what I want. But then at the same time, it actually has 4 spinning drive bays, but it has 2 SSD slot bays underneath that you can use if you run a hack. So I was a little bit worried about this. I was like, oh, goodness, am I really going to put my primary stuff on a hack? And reading about people who have been doing this for at least a few years now, it's been working well for them. Any change you make, you basically have to wipe it and start it again. If you want to add a new drive, if one drive fails, you can't use the other one. You're basically wiping everything and starting again. So I was thinking about this. Well, I was like, no, I'm crazy about backups. So, wiping and starting again is not going to be a problem as long as I keep my backups up to date, which my backups are generally. So I was like, yeah, I think I can live with this. I think I can live on a hack. It gets me a whole lot more space because during Prime Day, there was 2 4-terabyte SSDs for sale too. I have 2 4-terabyte SSDs in there, so I do have a usable 4 terabytes of space because they're RAID 1, so they're backing each other up. So I was like, no, I think I'm okay, actually. I did basically lose a drive bay. In my original configuration, I was going to have 5 drive bays set for my large volume. Now I only have 4 drive bays set for my large volume. But with my photos, my smaller volume being in 2 drive bays at the bottom and being much faster, because I was not going to have them in those slots in the new Synology. It's much faster, actually, where they are. I'm actually getting better benefit there. I'm doing pretty well. I bought a bunch of hard drives to fill the new large bays, and I bought those 4 terabytes for underneath. So I spent a whole lot of money at once, and it's taken me a long time to get it all set up and all the files moved over from the original Synologies, but I am pretty much done. Everything has migrated. I've been using the new picture thing on those fast drive bays, and it is very fast. I make changes now in the iPhone app anywhere. I was out at a mall the other day sitting and relaxing and filing photos, and they were happening very quickly, almost as if the photos were on my phone. So the speed of moving those photos on those SSD drive bays is super fast. So my gambit of not really subscribing to any photo services and using Synology Photos as my primary photo storage, with these new SSDs, it's really worth it. Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of money, but I'm not paying for storage anywhere else. And I got 4 terabytes of storage for my photos now, which I'm not even using anywhere near half. I have tons of space and it's super fast. So I'm really liking that. I spend a lot of money on my Synologies, but I do get a lot of use out of them, and I'm very pleased with it.
I'm glad that worked out for you.
It did take me a little while to move my old Synologies around because of their problems and, okay, which drive bays go in where? And actually, one of my older drives failed during the process. So how do I? Okay, I have to wait for the rebuild to happen before that. Anyway, anytime you're moving Synologies and building RAIDs and rebuilding RAIDs and things like that, there's a lot of moving around and a lot of waiting. So yeah, it took a while to get everything going. But you know what? It's October now, and I bought those in July. I'm pretty pleased. I'm actually pretty close to being done. I am still waiting for my distant Synology backup to complete. That has not yet completed, and I'm waiting for that. it takes forever. So, yeah, oh well. Oh well on that one, but hey, it'll finish at some point. It will finish. It's just going to take a long time.
I mean, you're talking about all these things you did over the summer. My summer was so chill in comparison. I basically went home and binged TV series that I hadn't watched with my folks. So it was great.
Yeah, Picard, right?
I watched all of Picard.
Mm-hmm.
I watched Ghosts. Ghosts is fun. Well, there's a British version and then there is an American remake version. Both seem good to me, but me and my folks watched the American version. Married couple inherits a creepy old house. The wife ends up tripping down the stairs. And when she wakes up, she apparently had such a near-death experience that she can now see ghosts. And the house is riddled with them. And it's basically her and her husband dealing with her new ability to see ghosts. And she doesn't just see ghosts in this house, but everywhere. So everywhere she goes, she sees ghosts. Her and her husband dealing with that. And also, how do we navigate the relationship of these ghosts that always have been here? So it's an interesting show. Picard was really good. We watched, not Discovery, Brave New Worlds.
Oh, yeah, I have not seen that yet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I should spoil it.
No, please don't. You know, it takes place on the Enterprise. I got that. Wait, is it a Star Trek series where the crew is on the Enterprise, Ryan?
Yeah, it is.
That would be both shows you've watched, actually.
Pretty much. And then there were a couple others here and there, but yeah, it was great. I just had time with the family and we just spent time together, talking, joking, making puzzles, and yeah, binging random TV shows. The major things that have happened to me have been post-summer.
Yeah.
I inherited a new class. So this has been a experience getting used to this new class and all the material. So I basically spent a large part of my summer making sure that I understood all the curriculum for that class. After that, mostly actually this past week has been pretty eventful for me.
No, I was wondering, should we discuss our wilderness outings that we have at school? It's funny that we're talking about summer and then we followed up with our wilderness. Now, part of it's because our wilderness outing was moved up 2 weeks and we were late on recording too, but both are contributing to the fact that we're talking about summer and wilderness outings together.
Yeah, but the wilderness outing is in September, so, you know, it's not that different from summer. September's still summer.
But luckily for you guys, it was one of the first cooler weeks in September.
Oh, so help me. Yeah, if it was any hotter, I would have died.
Summer went along this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really has finally broken where you can actually walk outside and not just start dripping as soon as you walk out the door.
True. I wasn't even just thinking about that. I also went to Tokyo Game Show right before I went to the wilderness excursion.
Oh, that's true, right? I forgot about that. We do need to talk about that.
This past week was very eventful for me. So we had our school's nature outing this past week, but the weekend before that was, you guessed it, it was Tokyo Game Show. Tokyo Game Show is officially back in full swing. It was technically back last year.
What day did you go, Ryan?
I'll get there.
Sorry.
But it was technically back in physical attendance last year.
Did you go last year?
So last year I didn't go because I felt like COVID was still too big of an issue for me to risk going.
Yeah. Last year, October, it was still around. It was still spreading and still something to be concerned about in Tokyo anyway.
So this was my first year back since COVID. So it's been basically 3 years since my last time. So originally I decide I'm going to go on Saturday so that I can be ready for our nature excursion, which we pack on Monday. So I go down there. I take the train all the way down to Makuhari Mese and get to the front door, only to realize that, yes, it was written right on the website, but I missed it. They are no longer doing day of sales at the door.
Mm.
So I took the train all the way down there, got to the door, and turned to one of the people there and said, well, where's the ticket booth? And they go, oh, we're not selling day of tickets anymore.
This is an hour and a half train down, right?
Yes, it's an hour and a half train down.
Mm. And you couldn't scalp off somebody down there, huh?
Yeah, I could not. And also, because of the person I am and the fact that I wanted to go and get in line for some of the things that were a little more exclusive, I went down early. So what time was I at this store? About 8 o'clock.
Oh, my.
Which means what time did I leave? Like 6:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I woke up at 6:30 in the morning, got on the train, got down there, asked where the tickets were, and they were no longer selling them. So I went to the local convenience store to see if I could buy a ticket there. And yes, I could buy a ticket there, but only for future sales. So I couldn't buy the day of ticket, which meant that I could only buy Sunday's ticket because they were only open to the public Saturday and Sunday, which meant I had to go back home, the hour and a half back home, and do this trip again tomorrow to get in to go, yes, on a Sunday to Tokyo Game Show.
Yeah. My question to you was, though, how was worship? I'm just giving you a hard time.
I know you are. Yes, I did go down there. I got to play Final Fantasy, actually.
Is it the new 6 part 2? Whatever. Is it 7 part 2? Wait, 6 part 2?
It's 7 part 2. 7 part 2 is coming out in February, I think. It's either February, it's early in the year, this coming year, 2024. And so it's coming out this coming year. And so they had a little promo and I got to play it. I was one of the last in line to get a ticket to play it. What they do is when you come in, you get to wait in a line and they'll hand you a ticket and you show back up at the booth when your ticket has that number. And my number was 4:30 and the entire venue shuts down at 5.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
So when my gameplay stopped, everybody else got kicked out of the entire venue. Mm. So that's what I mean by I was one of the last ones to play it. So, yay. But yeah, I got to go play Final Fantasy. I looked around, saw a whole bunch of new games that are coming out. They had some advertisements for Dragon's Dogma 2, which I talked about last time, I believe. There was the remake of Persona 3. There were some things for so many different games, but it was a lot of fun. It was exhausting, though. It was very much exhausting. And so I got home and just crashed. And then I woke up the following day, came to school, and helped all my students pack because we were about to go on a hike into the mountains for 4 days. Which, I was pretty well rested by the time we left on Tuesday, but then things happened on that trip.
Yeah, a few things happened. I mean, compared to last year, which we talked about on a previous episode, things happened, but it was actually a fairly normal year. I guess maybe if anything, on the high end of normal problems. But not too bad, not too bad.
Not too bad. I guess for me, the reason why I say a number of things happened was it felt like most of the things that happened to my group.
Oh, almost all of them. No, almost all of them happened to your group. Not too bad.
And I got back and I was just like, is it me? Am I the cause of this?
No, I don't think so. You didn't cause the last day's events and you didn't help the other kid get sick. So no, it wasn't you.
So essentially what happened was we went out on this hike. Day 1 went great. We were doing well. Day 2 went pretty good. We got near the end of the day and then I started not feeling great. And I started having a lot of trouble breathing. And I mean, I maybe have not mentioned this on the podcast yet, but I did get COVID for the second time like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I was worried that it was like my COVID hadn't quite worked itself all out. And so I was having some real trouble breathing, getting up to the top of that mountain on the second day. And I was like, I had no problem doing this yesterday. What's going on? How is this happening? And then I got to the top of the mountain, went to bed early because I was just not feeling great. And then in the morning, took my temperature and, oh, surprise, I have a fever.
Mm-hmm.
And I find out that in my group, I'm not the only one. There was some sickness within my group. Eventually, it got worse and worse, and so we did have to evacuate my group. But it felt like this year, all the things that could have gone wrong with a group happened to my group.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them felt like they were things that we did or we caused, but things that happened to us. We were making good time. I think the thing that actually slowed down the group the most was me. And that was because, hiking with a fever and having that restricted breathing feeling is a little hard. So apparently the thing that made the students laugh was all through late day 2 and all of day 3. The phrase that apparently the students heard from me the most was, "I'm a-comin', I'm a-comin'."
Are you feeling better now?
Yeah, I think the fever's gone. By the time we left on Friday, the fever was still pretty low grade, but it was still there a little bit. I think it was a little here yesterday. I'm not feeling it today, but my fevers tend to kick up at night when I have them.
Well, and the only other real big thing that happened was normally in our wilderness excursion, what will happen is a student will want to come out, whether they can't do it, whether they twisted their ankle and can't finish. Generally, that's the kind of emergency I field. And we didn't have any of that. Well, except for evacuating your group, which was a minor thing at that point because you were already almost back anyway.
And we did that because at the point we were at, it was quite honestly no longer safe for us to remain out there with how many people were feeling sick.
Mm-hmm. And your lack of water, which I want to talk to the group that went through there before you, because there was a group that stayed there the day before.
Yeah, I talked to them already.
What did he say? Was it open for them?
No, she had her filter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's some hand washing tubs that are designed for hand washing that specifically say on there with a big sign that says, "Do not drink this." So she ran that hand washing stuff through her filter twice and then added the powder that everybody goes with. We didn't have a filter, and I wasn't going to risk my students' well-being with that water because there are things that live in that water.
So it was locked up for them too then. Yeah, that means we are going to have to make adjustments because that's one of the major spots along that route. Well, normally I pick people up, right? But this time I actually dropped somebody off. That's why I was out there. I don't actually know if I've told you this yet, right?
You said you were doing a drop-off. I was very confused about that, but...
Yeah, very confused because it doesn't normally happen. We had a student who was sick on the day that the teams were leaving. He had been there for packing, and he had minor cold symptoms, very minor cold symptoms, so he was there for packing, no problem. But he woke up on the Tuesday morning with a sore throat so much so that he couldn't swallow. And he and his parents were concerned about this. And he's been looking forward to this trip forever. So they went to the doctors instead of coming to school. And the doctor confirmed that he did not have COVID and he did not have flu. So it's just a cold. So he was able to pick up some medicine. And since this happened Tuesday morning, I was able to discuss with the leader of the group as they were leaving where we could possibly drop him off if he got better. So there was basically two opportunities. One was Wednesday morning and the other would be Thursday late morning. So those are the two options. Since medicine was working right away and he was fine, it's like, great, let's do Wednesday morning. Yep, so we left as early as we could Wednesday morning to get out there because it's like a 2.5 hour drive to where they were. And then on the way back, you called me and we stopped to visit your group too.
Nate, I had you read a book this week.
Yes. Actually, I read it a while ago now. But yes, I've read it twice now, but still, it was fun.
And this book is a book that has a robot in it. And so for our picks this week, we wanted to ask each other, what are our favorite robots? So this becomes difficult because, Nate, I have to ask you, what constitutes a robot?
I was going to leave it very wide open. This is not a draft. We're just having fun. So yes, I was leaving it quite wide open.
So quite wide open for what constitutes a robot.
Right.
And question number 2, is data off the table?
I don't know. I don't have a good second. That was one of the things. I definitely have one good one, and I have a bunch of, these are kind of fun, but not much to talk about them. Data, I have a lot more to talk about, actually.
Well, I will leave you with data then.
Not that you can't add to it, because again, not a draft.
Not a draft, no.
We've gone over some robots in our previous medias. Gertie 3000 from Moon, the robot that's managing the clones of the guy that's living on the planet and managing their well-being. I like how the robot actually has feelings for him. As well as the Iron Giant, although am I stealing that one, Ryan, from you?
I had two as my second choice that I was going to try to decide between by the time it got to my second choice, because I've been debating them.
Well, you can still pick it, but that's definitely something we've covered before. But
both of my second choices are ones that we have covered before, but we'll talk about that.
Oh, I've missed one we've covered before then.
Yes, we have.
Sounds good. I think I'm going to pick Data. He's definitely my favorite robot/android, not humanoid. Data is definitely excellent. Placed in all the movies. Does very good in even the latest Picard. I liked how he realized how he could beat Lore pretty quickly. That was kind of fun. So please watch that show if you haven't watched it, but very fun. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Data, just in general. So I was trying to think. Each Star Trek basically has its non-emotional character, right? I mean, original was Spock. Next Generation was Data. And I would say that Deep Space Nine was Worf. No, just kidding.
Who do they have in Voyager?
Well, Voyager was Tuvok. That was easy. I mean, again, because they have a Vulcan. Deep Space Nine was full of emotional characters, actually. Although I guess you could say Odo, perhaps. Not that Odo didn't have feelings. He definitely did. But yeah, I mean, he was the lawman, right? He didn't show a lot of emotion or he wasn't always empathetic. He was, but he wasn't always.
Quark.
No. He definitely, yeah, again, full of emotional. You look at Kira and the Doctor and Miles O'Brien. They all were characters playing off each other. That's why it's probably one of the better series in general. But anyway, that's another discussion.
But Miles O'Brien is one of the most influential.
Oh, yeah, I know. Influential characters in all of Starfleet, right? That's
yeah.
It's a great joke. Lower Decks is a great show. Love a show that's making fun of the show. Data was very good. I don't think it's because he was non-emotional that I liked him. I think I just liked the logic in general of him. And I think that's just one of the things I like because I'm fairly logical. I definitely have very little emotion. Just kidding. I think the logic appealed to me with him. So I don't know. I like Data and Geordi's friendship in general. I like that together. Mm-hmm. That was a fun thing throughout Next Generation and into the movies as well.
And I like how they used Data and his position to draw out a lot of different ideas on like what constitutes human, what constitutes rights, things like that.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they did it not only by drawing parallels to modern day like civil rights movements, but also even relating him to the old story of Pinocchio. I mean, what can you say? Data is a great android. I don't know if I would ever lump him in the robot category.
Oh, no, definitely not. I mean, I'm just trying to draw it back to the theme, but no, he's definitely an android.
And the only reason why I draw that distinction is because of what robot the word originally comes from.
A robotic person?
No. Now I have to make sure that I'm quoting this right. Etymology. The word robota is tied to the idea of serf labor, like serfs in feudal world. That's why I was thinking I definitely wouldn't classify him as a robot, especially with the etymology of the word being so tied to essentially slave labor or serf labor or that kind of labor. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to detract you from what you were saying.
What do you got?
I thought to myself that I was going to choose one from a video game and one from either a book or a movie. I'm going to start with the video game one. And so I'm going to spoil a 25-year-old video game.
It's going to get ruined for me.
Yes, it's going to get ruined for you. So I am going to give a plot spoiler for one of the characters, actually, in Final Fantasy VII.
Okay.
There is a character who is very mysterious, and they join you, and you have no idea what their whole deal is about. And later they reveal that they are actually a robot being controlled by a specific person. And that robot is a character in Final Fantasy VII named Cait Sith. It is a robotic cat that rides on the back of a robotic giant Moogle, which is a creature in the Final Fantasy world. Part of the reason why I have to say why I love it is going to be spoilery for more stuff. So if you don't want to be spoiled for Final Fantasy VII, skip ahead to the next section.
This is why we have chapters. You can skip right ahead.
All right, so why I like Cait Sith is because Cait Sith is a robot, like truly a remote-controlled machine. Later in the game, it is revealed that the person controlling Cait Sith is a character named Reeve. So your characters are all fighting against a corporation named Shinra. And you're all fighting against this corporation who is slowly destroying the planet by absorbing this natural resource, and it's destroying the planet. And one of the employees, who's high up in the company, decides, no, we've gone too far. We're hurting people. We're destroying the world, and we're oppressing humanity with everything we're doing. And so he decides that he's going to control this robot cat to join the team of freedom fighters against the company he's currently working for. And it is just the most ridiculous thing when you were originally playing it, because it's a giant Moogle with a cat riding on top that is trying to save the world, and their weapon is a megaphone, so they just hit things with a megaphone for some reason. Partially because when you first meet them, it's at essentially Final Fantasy's version of Disneyland called Gold Saucer.
Mm-hmm.
They look like a mascot. They seem to be, oh, this mascot's just joining you on your team to help you out. But no, they're actually very heavily involved in all these things. In the remake, they actually make it so that one of the big things that happen in the original game is the company ends up dropping half of the city on top of the slums to try to destroy these freedom fighters. And so they kill hundreds, if not thousands of people who are living underneath the city in the slums just to try to destroy this one group of freedom fighters. And in the remake, they actually make it so that Reeve was controlling Cait Sith and was running to try to stop this using Cait Sith, but just didn't make it on time. And so it gives that idea that he's always been trying to undermine the really evil things that Shinra was doing. And in the original game, eventually he sacrifices the robot to try to help in this process of saving the world, just showing like, no, I really am dedicated to this team. But yeah, I really like it. I was trying to decide between that and another one, which is B12, the little robot that rides on top of a cat in Stray.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
The robot is essentially what guides you through the robotic underworld in Stray, and B12 is pretty awesome. But yeah, I would say my favorite robot that I thought about was Cait Sith.
I'm going to pick next, because I don't think you've seen this yet, so I think you should take a look at this sometime. I'm going to pick Isaac from the show The Orville. Have you seen The Orville at all yet?
No, I have not.
Isaac is a Kaelon who is aboard The Orville. And The Orville is a show that it's trying to mix live action of Next Generation with the humor of Lower Decks. It's like, of course, they're going to talk about just bathroom stuff occasionally. You know, they're going to make bathroom jokes. There's a little bit of immaturity in some of the officers. It's trying to make it a little bit more real in that sense. So yeah, they have a good time in The Orville. It's not making fun of Star Trek. They do tackle some serious issues. But anyway, so Isaac is a cultural emissary. He is from the Kaelons. He's there to learn about humans, learn all he can about humans. And that becomes a plot point later on in the series. Well, I'm not going to say anything, I guess, any more than that. The Kaelons become a pretty big plot point later on in the series, so you should watch through to see that part, because I think that ends up working out pretty well. I think the show handles that very well. One of the neat things about, just as a TV show and a guy in a robot costume walking in a robot way, at one point he starts dating one of the human officers just for, because he needs to expand his cultural understanding of humans, so he has to start dating, right? But one of the interesting things the show does is one of Isaac's attempts to make the human more comfortable around him is he walks onto the holodeck, their version of holodeck, and they have the holodeck create a human appearance for him. Of course, the human appearance that the holodeck creates is the actor's real appearance. So you get to see actually the guy behind the robot suit. So that's kind of a neat thing to see him there like that. That's a neat thing the show does. The female that the robot dates is Penny Johnson. She's the woman who plays Sisko's love interest at the end of Deep Space Nine. So that's one of their tie-ins. So she was in Deep Space Nine and she was in The Orville. She's the chief medical officer of The Orville. That's a fun thing. Through even that whole relationship with Isaac and Claire Finn, the lady in The Orville, they talk about what is a relationship? Wait a minute, you don't have feelings. Which they do discuss this in one episode of Star Trek with Data. Can love one way handle the relationship? Is it just familiarity with Isaac? But, I think they end up realizing that it's more than just familiarity for Isaac. But, they tackle some fun things like that. Yeah, you should watch The Orville because it's quite a fun show. And Isaac is the android, or would you say robot android?
Cyborg?
No, because he does not have any human parts, any organic parts. I guess you could say android, I guess. Is he a robot or not?
No, that's a different show.
Yeah. They just call him a Kalon because he's an alien in that respect. But I would say possibly android.
Gotcha.
Because he's not one task. He's more like Data.
Hmm.
You should watch The Orville sometime.
Yeah, among all the other shows I need to watch.
Exactly.
For my second pick,
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to decide between two. As I said, I decided I wanted to pick one from a game and one from either a book or a movie. And so when thinking about books, I was like, well, I can't pick Murderbot because he's definitely a cyborg.
Yeah, although I guess you could go there if you wanted to.
I'm not going to. And so that left me with two in my brain. And that was either the Iron Giant from The Iron Giant or Sidra from A Closed and Common Orbit.
Oh, Sidra, yeah. Yeah, I thought about her when I first said this to you, that this is what we're going to do.
Uh-huh.
And I totally forgot after that. Because I was like, oh, we're going to do robots. Oh, I'm going to pick the one from Closed and Common Orbit.
Yes. Problem is, I like both of them. But I think for me, I'm going to pick Sidra.
Sidra's a good one. I lost the draft. It wasn't a draft.
It wasn't a draft. But you lost it anyway.
I did.
Sidra, her entire story, figuring out who she is, figuring out where she belongs in this world, and figuring out how to fit in a world that really doesn't accept her. That entire journey is wonderful. We gushed about this book for a long time, way back in episode, 27? Yeah, 27. It was a while ago.
Yes, 27.
Like I said, it's a great story of discovering who she is, discovering where she fits in the universe, and she's just a great character altogether.
Mm-hmm.
It is this character who is thrust into a position that she has no idea and is just trying to figure it all out, and becomes a very well-developed character over this entire journey. I don't think I can say any more than what we've already said back in episode 27.
Yep. Very good. I mean, one of the things I think, too, is I like the conflict of she has a nature that requires a ship, and she's not there anymore.
Yes.
So there is things she can do to adjust her nature, but she can't get too far beyond it.
Her nature longs for, being able to observe everything around her.
Mm-hmm.
But she can't with the limitations of the body that she had.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Such a good book.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Sidra, that's my choice.
Nope. I was definitely thinking that when we first sat down. I was like, we're going to do robots. I'm like, oh, Sidra. I'm going to do Sidra. Totally forgot. I got sniped.
Even though I picked last.
Even though you picked the last one. Yes, pretty much, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it's good because all of these people we picked all have fandom Wikia pages. If you look at the notes document, they all have fandom pages. It's pretty hilarious.
This time, I brought us a roulette. Fanta did a mystery beverage. Specifically, it says #WhatTheFanta.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's got a big question mark on it. No fruit flavoring, so I guess looking at the ingredients is not going to help us out.
No, but it is a mysterious purple liquid that doesn't tell you what flavor you're going to be drinking.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and it's 0 sugar, Ryan, so it's going to be delicious.
Oh, gosh. I didn't even notice that. I just saw the big mystery drink and I was like, oh, this will be interesting.
I think it's going to be interesting. I'm not sure it's going to taste excellent, but it's going to be interesting, that's for sure.
As we've said before, Fanta is pretty big in Japan, and so we said, oh, here's a mystery Fanta. Why not?
And not only big, but generally speaking, fairly good. Usually the Fanta drinks are better than most.
That and I just wanted a break from all the Calpis.
Yeah, I did buy a Calpis for you coming up later. I haven't brought it into school yet, but it looks good. Looks good.
Who decides good?
I'm sorry, let me say it again. It looks like it'll be entertaining.
So help me.
Possibly not good, but generally entertaining, yes.
Well, shall we try the mystery Fanta and figure out what flavor it actually is?
Yeah. Let's figure out what flavor light purple is. Strawberry?
I smell like Skittles and Starburst kind of smell.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Like high sugar content.
Oh, yeah.
Why does it say 0 calories?
0 sugar.
Yeah. Now it's really worrying me.
Uh-huh.
All right, let's see. What is that flavor?
I don't know.
It's like a cotton candy kind of flavor? Is that what it is?
Honestly, I liked my first example when I said Skittles earlier. It feels like you just took an entire bag of Skittles and just turned it into a drink, regardless of what flavor they were. You can definitely taste the 0 sugar part of it, though.
No, the aftertaste of 0 sugar really bothers me, but...
Yeah, the aftertaste of 0 sugar is not pleasant. It feels like you're drinking a bag full of Skittles, and then you get this aftertaste of, hey, remember that we're no sugar?
Mm-hmm.
That is not pleasant. 0 calories, 0 sugar, 0 fun.
As somebody who generally likes things that are too sugary, I'm not sure I like this one.
I'm making my determination pretty quickly on this one, I think. I'm giving this one a 3 and calling it a day.
I think that's what I'm feeling too. It's not a good drink. It's not even 4.
No. It would probably be fine if it didn't have that 0 sugar aftertaste.
Yeah, that would bring it to a 4.
It feels like it's trying to assault you with all of the flavors. Like I said, like opening the bag of Skittles and pouring it all in your mouth. But it also has that 0 sugar aftertaste. Not great.
I was hoping Fanta as a fruit flavor soda.
Generally does pretty well.
Yeah.
They have failed me. Hopefully the KitKat will be better.
I think the KitKat has promise.
Oh, yes, because this is a chunky KitKat.
Okay, it says chunky and then peanut butter separately. So I think it's a peanut butter KitKat that is chunky. I mean, I'm guessing it says chunky so big because they must have peanut butter KitKats that are smooth.
I'm just thinking that it's probably a chunky peanut butter KitKat. Like if you're putting chunky peanut butter on a sandwich, that kind of...
And this is a large KitKat.
It is also a very large KitKat. It is twice the width and like twice the length.
These were donated by Scott. Now, he must have gotten them from America, right?
Yeah, I assume so, because I cannot imagine that Japan would ever sell anything this size.
Well, that and the fact that everything's in English. Or, no, everything's in Russian.
Russian?
Wait, German. Anyway, everything's in a foreign language.
There's like 5 languages on here.
Yeah, there is. There's like 5 languages. So maybe he got this somewhere in Europe.
I assume so, maybe when he was on his trip to England. But this looks pretty good to me.
It does. It does. It looks very good.
Now, I like Reese's.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, this is going to be a Reese's with KitKat wafer. Let's see if I am correct.
The peanut butter came later.
Yeah.
It's not Reese's because the peanut butter and the chocolate are very mixed.
Yeah.
But you are right in the other rest of the assessment. It's with a KitKat wafer.
Yeah, it tastes like the chocolate and the peanut butter are kind of almost one. I find it interesting that it was called chunky, and yet I didn't taste any of the chunks.
No, I agree with you there. Now, the creamy peanut butter was good, though. Yeah, the chocolate and the peanut butter together were good.
Yeah, they were. I liked it. I like peanut butter as a flavor. I like chocolate and peanut butter together.
But?
Yeah, that's the problem. It feels like a but. I think my expectations were high, and I think that's the problem.
It seemed like the ratio of chocolate / peanut butter to wafer was wrong.
Yeah, it felt almost too wafery.
Oh, really? I thought it was too little wafery, not crunchy enough.
I got lots of crunch, and I didn't get enough peanut butter. If I want a peanut butter KitKat, I would want more peanut butter.
Yeah, I think your expectations were too high then. Because I was disappointed it was less KitKat. I mean, I liked the peanut butter. I liked the addition. There was a lot of chocolate this time, too.
Maybe it's not that there was too much wafer. Maybe it was too much chocolate. The peanut butter was not enough for me, I think. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah, I could see more peanut butter would have been nicer, I think, too. I agree.
So a little bit lighter on the chocolate, a little bit heavier on the peanut butter would have probably been a better balance in my mind.
I was thinking 7, but looking at the other things I gave 7, I think this probably falls into a 6.
Yeah, that's the problem is part of me wants somewhere between a 6 and a 7, and I'm trying to decide if it's a high 6 or a low 7.
Yeah, I think I want to retroactively change my chestnut to a 8. Not today, I guess.
Not today. I'm also giving it a 6.
I would definitely have more.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. It definitely improved upon the traditional flavor of a KitKat. I just think that I wanted a little bit more out of a peanut butter KitKat. And they have failed me.
Not for the last time, Ryan. Not for the last time.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
Are you going to bring me a Calpis KitKat or something?
I'll keep looking.
So help me, if they actually make one of those, I might just retire right there.
Ryan, you had me read a book.
Yes.
A novella again.
Well, I thought you should be better read.
So I should read another Becky Chambers, huh?
Just mix things up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry. The next thing I have you reading is, it's a Terry Pratchett book.
Yeah, better read, okay. It's okay, the next book I have you read is the second in a series also, so yeah. We're doing really well on spreading yourselves out here.
I'm doing better than I did last year, I think. What was I going to say? Yes, I had you read a novella again. I actually had you read the second novella that I told you a while back. Some of your answers will be answered through this.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I believe that was the phrasing I used. Some of your answers will be answered.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope they were. Because what I had you read was A Prayer for the Crown Shy, which is the second book in the Monk and Robot series by Becky Chambers. Before we get into our discussion about it, as always, I'm going to give a little elevator pitch. But essentially, this is the second book after Psalm for the Wild Belt, and this is the story of sibling Dex and Mosscap as they travel throughout the human civilization as they journey together to figure out what it is that people need and understand their own relationship a little bit better.
It's a Becky Chambers book. It's a little light on plot, but big on character.
Yeah, it is. Hey, let's have these two characters journey through the world, ask themselves about their relationship, and ask themselves about the nature of existence. Hey, that sounds about right.
Sounds good to me. Becky Chambers, I'll be there. Yeah, I mean, actually, that's one of my first notes is, loving more of Becky Chambers. I made the comment in the episode about Some for the Wild Bill where it was like, I felt like the Becky Chambers really only got started as Mosscap joined.
And because I read these two back to back, for me, I always felt like this was the payoff for all of the setup that was in Psalm for the Wild Bill.
Yes.
Because this was, all right, so we've had sibling Dex's emotional catharsis on top of the mountain. Now they're returning into the human world and dealing with like what kind of relationship they have, but also like where they fit together as travel companions, as friends, and going through these different cities.
I mean, I like the wrestling with his question.
Mm-hmm.
The question of what do humans need?
Yeah.
And him realizing that that's really not the right question. They haven't settled on what the question he needs to ask from now on is, but that he knows at least now at the end of the book that that's not the right question.
And the difficulty is, because Mosscap is a robot, we're going to screw up these pronouns the entire time, you do realize.
Oh, right. It's it. It's not a him. Oh, you're right. I messed that up. Yep. I have to admit, I still haven't grown on sibling Dex. They still annoy me a little bit. They did not grow on me anymore. Well, okay, maybe a little bit more.
Mm.
I mean, it's not like I hate them, but I am not as interested in their plot lines. But I'm very interested in how they play against Mosscap still. That I am very interested in. Because sibling Dex plays very well my assumptions. Even though their currency is different than, yen and dollars, I loved how the assumptions were very similar. Although yet, I loved how their currency system said that debt is not the problem, the circumstances are the problem. I loved that.
Mm.
Whereas in our society, debt basically causes the problems. I mean, debt is a compounded effect of circumstances usually, but of course it's the problem that we focus on, not uncompounding the problem.
I found it interesting because the exchange system was essentially favors.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like, as long as you are contributing something to society, to the community, you are building up essentially favors that other people will be returning to you. So whatever my job is, if my job is to be the tea monk like Sibling Dex, then by providing that service to the community, I have essentially earned up favors or some kind of reciprocal kindness, essentially, where I have given of my energy, of my time to help someone. And so in return, the community helps me by providing me food or a bag.
A satchel.
A satchel.
Can I have a satchel?
Yes, you can have a satchel.
I think that's generally a good, I mean, I like it. Well, it's working in a book. It's not working in reality, but it's working in a book. But one of the things that I still struggle with, and then this hit me real hard in 8th grade when we did our little capitalism experiment with checkbooks, and everybody had to balance their checkbook, right, in 8th grade. And we all set up our little stores. And I chose to be the cartography store, selling everybody maps. And I realized that this was a really rough business to be in when everyone else chose furniture and appliances and things like that were expensive, right? You go to that person's store and you're buying a whole bunch, and my checkbook balance was really low the whole time because I'm selling maps for $5 a piece. And a map is usually a significant amount of work, but still it can really only go for $5 a piece. I don't think that this system answered that. Well, it didn't answer it in the book because it's not really explaining their system of economy. But that's always something I fear in a trade type economy, even in our trade type economy where we're trading money. Teachers work for a little. Why? Because they're not valued. We don't have the ESPN sports night for teachers like that one sketch, which I thought was hilarious.
Wasn't that Key and Peele?
Yeah, Key and Peele sketch of trading teachers, right? Like, yeah, we work in education, but we're not valued. That's the thing. There are amazing teachers out there doing work for very little. That's not answered in our economy either. It's just something that sticks out of my head as learning that lesson very early. That was not the lesson the 8th grade capitalism unit was supposed to teach us. It was supposed to teach us how to balance our checkbooks, which it did teach me how to do that. But my takeaway from that was never be a cartography salesman. Speaking of that, I like working with pictures, right? And I print pictures at the local print store here for 50 yen a picture, right? I order 4 pictures and pay 200 yen. And that teller had to stand there for longer than 200 yen's worth of time to sell me that product. Like, I'm thinking, how do these stores make money? How does that work out? I mean, I'm glad I'm only paying 50 yen a picture, but I'm looking at how much time it took them to print that picture and how much time it took them to sell me that picture. And it was more time on their hands than 200 yen worth. So I don't know how they stay in business, but I'm very glad to be getting my pictures at 50 yen a picture.
Honestly, I think it's supposed to be a post-capitalist societies where, okay, capitalism has crumbled for whatever reason, and so we're trying to live, I guess, as close to either the socialist ideal or, to use another example, the Acts Church.
Oh, Acts. Oh, yeah, sorry. Not AXE.
Acts of the Apostles,
Oh, I've seen that in a museum. Oh.
No.
Oh, not the Acts? Oh, okay. It's not in Rome, that Acts of the Apostles?
Yes, the Acts of the Apostles.
I mean, I think one of the things that benefits is that there's no reward for having a large amount of credits or whatever they have, right? Goodness, I forget the term. There's no benefit for having a large amount of credits. It's not like you can have a house on the shore. I mean, you could potentially buy a house on the shore with having a lot of credits, but it doesn't appear that that's the mentality. That's the post-capitalist part of it, I guess. There's no mentality for amassing wealth.
Yeah. I think it's based on the idea of supporting the community, supporting the society as a whole, rather than supporting oneself.
Individuals. Yeah. I liked it because, yes, Sibling Dex was my stand-in, yet I was still able to learn from Sibling Dex.
One of the things that I really liked about this one was I loved the different cities.
Yes.
Because every city they visited had its own unique spin on how it is surviving in this world after all of this mass production has essentially shut down. So where do they go from there? Okay, well, this is how this city has survived, and this is how this city has survived. It's very interesting how each city takes its own take on how it will survive. And I liked it. I mean, I liked seeing the city that grew up being a giant tree fort, is how I envisioned it. And then the city that grew out of the waste from the river that was reclaimed. And then the idyllic village of farming. Each one taking their own little spin on how are we going to survive. I really liked each of these different like snapshots into, okay, this is what this community has decided to do to survive. I also did like that the immediate response of, what do you need, is so many people's responses, well, specifically, I need this right now.
Yeah, immediate needs, not long-term needs.
Mm-hmm. Because they were definitely thinking, like, what do you need? Okay, well, I need a new door. Or I need...
my fence painted or things like that.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, that is what people are going to be initially thinking about, is when you approach them and say, what do people need? They're not going to think of, like, philosophically, existentially, what do people need? Especially when you're asked, what do you need? When I am asked, what do I need? I think of, like, I need more time in a day. I need an extra pair of hands. I need a brain that is able to multifunction better than I am.
Yep.
All those sort of things, like the things that I think of right now.
Even there, like more time in the day, extra pair of hands, those are still, well, somewhat immediate needs.
Mm-hmm.
Those ones are a little bit more midterm maybe, but they're not long-term needs.
Okay, so I guess closer would be something like, what do I need? I need more groceries in my refrigerator.
I happen to have just fixed it, but I need my shower knob fixed. I glued it back together again, but now I've done it, but that's what I needed for a long time. Let me ask you this question. Thinking through this book, and again, trying to, in my head a little bit anyway, because I know it's Becky Chambers, and you can't do this with Becky Chambers.
What?
But, try to apply a rising action, climax, falling action on this book, and it doesn't really work.
No, it really doesn't. But, okay, go ahead.
But one of the things I was thinking was, especially, I think I thought this reading it through the first time, but in the second time I was like, okay. Well, in the first time I was like, wait a minute, the book ended before they reached the big city.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that the climax? But then, sitting down the second time thinking through this niggling thing in my head, I was thinking that no, the climax, I don't really know what the climax was. One of the things I thought the climax might be, the coming to the realization of your feelings is the climax of this book, right? Well, climax is a strong word, but anyway, is one of the turning points of this book. That Moskep doesn't really want to go to the big city, that it's having second thoughts of the after, right? The future unknown following the big city, right? So I think really coming to the realization of feelings is kind of at least a turning point in this book.
I think that another big build-up or another big moment is visiting Sibling Dex's home.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because that is the thing that seems to be continuously being put off throughout the book. Mm-hmm. That Sibling Dex doesn't want to go and visit their home.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it feels like if you're going to put a point that everything is building to, it is when they finally go home. Finally bring Mosscap into their home, and you meet their family and see their relationship with their family. It tries to make those connections on, like, why is Sibling Dex the way they are? And I think that that's another big one. But again, I think because I draw more from Sibling Dex than I think you do, I think that is probably a bigger climax
for you,
or a bigger build up in my mind than I think it would be for you.
Because I was looking at more of Mosscap's turning points, because that's the character I'm more interested in, right? Mm-hmm. But I agree with you that definitely the meeting of the family, even what Sibling Dex is learning about themselves in seeing it through Mosscap's eyes, is a good turning point too, yeah. Mm-hmm. So why do you think the book is named Crown Shy? I looked up Crown Shy, and there's actually a pretty cool picture on Wikipedia of Crown Shy. Is crown shyness, are they drawing the conclusion that people are kind of coming to the edge of each other and not crossing in? Or is it something interesting, just that, like it was a poem, right? They read through a poem or something?
So it's basically that trees will grow close to each other, but not touch.
Basically. Crown of the tree, right? Being the leaves.
Yeah.
But I guess even the branches too, I guess, to it. Yes. So yes. I just found it interesting. My first guess, which can very easily be wrong, is that it is just a reference to often we kind of get close to each other but don't touch. But I can easily be wrong on that. Maybe she did mean it for something completely different. But I had not really heard of crown shyness before, so it was kind of a new concept for me. I don't think I've ever seen it in a forest. From the pictures, it looks very cool.
Oh, yeah. From the pictures, it looks really cool. I would have to reread that portion to get another reading into why it was named that way. Throughout the entire book, sibling decks really seem to make a lot of connections to people and be friendly to people, but seem to not actually, I guess, invite people into their heart is the best way to describe it.
Getting close but not touching.
Yeah, getting close but not touching. So I feel like, if anything, it was a very good symbolic image of sibling decks as a whole. Of this being who wants to grow close to others, grow close to other people, but still is hesitant to make that final connection, I guess is the best way to put it. Now, there might be a deeper reading to it. And again, I think part of it is, yeah, I will admit it's been a while since I read this, because I originally told you to read this a long time ago, and I did not reread this before we started talking about it, so that's on me.
Yeah, I think great book. Right, I definitely enjoyed it. Again, it was a wonderful Becky Chambers book. It's, let's take these topics and have a cup of tea with them as we're sitting down. Of course, there's not much tea in the actual story, which is one of the struggles, but still, for us as readers, it's like, yeah, we can just kind of let all of this wash over.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it hits on a lot of good points to think about. Like, are we a failure of a human being when we just need rest?
Right.
And their answer is no. No, you're not a failure of a human being if you just need to rest once in a while.
And it continues to ask the question, what makes you you, right? Which a lot of her books are basically asking. Speaking of, throwing Sidra in there earlier today, yeah, definitely. I mean, that was a lot of the book there, which is why we called it writing in your purpose statement, right? So, yeah, this is what makes you you, what makes you tick, how can you understand more about that about yourself?
And I like books like this where it basically invites you into a philosophical analysis of yourself while also finding out a little bit more about a character and their own analysis of themselves. So all in all, yeah, you're right. Great book. Deals with a lot of interesting topics. I feel like this book is a great payoff for all the setup that was done in Psalm for the Wild Built.
Right, but at the same time, I'm very curious as to, I'm assuming there's still a book 3 to come.
I would assume so.
Because I would think this storyline needs to have a closure to at least the what do humans need question. Whether that question is answered, or whether Moscap has redefined the question to be more answerable, and then that the new question is answered. I think it's going to be one of those two. And I mean, yes, Moscap was leaning towards redefining the question, which I think is probably wise. So I'm curious as to book 3. It hasn't come out yet, which is interesting because those first 2 books came out a year after each other, and it's been a few years.
Honestly, it's a great read. Becky Chambers, great author. We keep reading her stuff for some reason, and I can say that reason is she writes good things.
Yep, that's what it is.
So
go read it.
Go read it. Congrats.
Right, Ryan, I've got another book for you.
You got a book for me?
Yeah, well, we're working our way through these things, and you had me read Crown Shy.
Okay.
And I'm having you read a second book in the series, too.
Is it slightly longer than Crown Shy?
It is slightly longer than Crown Shy.
How much?
Oh, so 3 times longer, right? Probably?
Yeah, probably like 3 times longer. Yeah.
But it's good. Obelisk Gate, you should read it. I have now read it twice. Because again, I thought we were going to talk about this earlier, and I've been delaying us. So no. But yeah, good stuff. I have now taken plenty of notes and look forward to talking about it next time. Yep, second book. So if you haven't listened to our episode on the 5th season, go ahead and listen to that, because that was a fun book. You should read that as well.
Wait, hold up.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to describe 5th season as fun?
It is the setup of a post-apocalyptic world. So no, I guess fun is a tough word.
It is a good book. I will not deny that. But
fun it is not.
Fun it is not. It is a terrible, broken world where people endure very tough things, but it is a enthralling story. And this is the continuation of that story.
Where you learn big things. So yeah, go ahead and read Obelisk Gate, Ryan. I think you will enjoy it.
Well, we hope you found something nice about this hill that we were willing to die on, and we appreciate all of our listeners coming along on this journey with us. And if you ever thought to yourself, hey, I really like these guys and what they do, and I just wish there was some way I could support them, you can. Visit myhilltodieon.com/members for more details. But what does it mean to be a member? Well, for the low price of $2 a month or $15 a year, you can help support this podcast. And by doing so, you'll get access to the members-only Not My Hill podcast, which is where we discuss things that are, well, probably somebody else's hill to die on. We have strong feelings on them, though, as the title said, they're definitely not hills that we're willing to die on. In addition to this, you'll also get access to the suggestion form, where you can make suggestions to our Listener Hill episodes, where we will watch, read, or climb up a hill that you're willing to die on, and we'll talk all about it. But know that the conversation doesn't have to end here. The discussion can continue with us through the subreddit My Hill to Die On, or by contacting us through email, which is, to no one's surprise, myhilltodieon@gmail.com. And finally, we upload all of our episodes to our YouTube channel, which is also named, say with me now, folks, My Hill to Die On.
Oh, you're right. I messed that up. Yep.
Do you want to do that again, or?
I think we can keep the mistake. That's fine. Sibling decks, I don't think I'll make a mistake on, but Mozcap, I might make a mistake or twice. So yeah, that's fine. I have to admit, I still haven't grown on sibling decks. He still annoys me. They still annoy me a little bit.
Thank you. I won't mess up sibling decks. Immediately goes to mess up sibling decks.
Immediately messing. It's not worth it, Ryan. It's not worth it.
I don't know. Being right is always worth it.
No, you know what? It's not worth it. All right. Yep. From June 21 to October 1st.
It's been a while since we've recorded.
Uh-huh.
We had a lot in the chamber, and then things came up.
Yep.
C'est la vie.
Yeah, as long as we keep moving forward, we're not stopping, we're not moving backwards, we keep moving forwards.
Keep moving forwards? Mm-hmm. What do you think this is? Meet the Robinsons?
Yes. Yeah, what was that phrase?
Keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward. Oh, yeah. I bet you I am going to have a hum now halfway through.
Hum.
Why don't you talk about Tokyo Game Show while it's on, and then when we start talking about other stuff, I'll turn it off again.
Oh, I see how this is.
I'm not going to be able to contribute too much to your Tokyo Game Show experience. I can just give you a hard time. In the show notes, you can learn all about these characters.
Yes, there is a Final Fantasy fandom.
Oh, for sure. Interestingly, it's all of Final Fantasy, of course, not just Final Fantasy VII. So that's going to be a large Final Fantasy one.
You got to have one place to store all the information about 16 mainline games and all of its offshoots.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Wiki is the perfect place.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Boom, 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 boom.
It's time to go home, Ryan. You're going to stick this at the end, right?